I want to start back at the beginning. You watched Top Gun and were inspired, and that really set a trajectory for a lot of your work. Tell us about what that moment meant and how that inspired you as a child.
Yeah, I think so many moments of inspiration for people happen when they're younger through media. And in my particular case, Top Gun was a legitimate one. And I was the youngest of three boys, and I had two older brothers that were in high school when I was, I think, 6 years old when Top Gun came out. And I saw how excited my brothers were about it. And I just wanted to be like my brothers too, and be interested in the things they were interested in. And it turned out that I just fell in love. I felt like the oldest picture of me. I got an airplane in my hand, and the first video game I had was Top Gun on Nintendo, and I wanted to be like Maverick one day. And I didn't quite land the Tom Cruise sort of thing, but it certainly got my gears going in terms of being inspired about aviation and wanting to explore. And it's kind of paved the path the rest of my life.
And then you turned that passion into a profession. Explain a little bit about what you do, investing in companies, growing companies, and a lot of them focus on mobility and aviation.
Yeah, so my day job today is co-founder of a firm called UP.Partners, which is an early stage venture capital firm that's investing in technologies that help move people and goods cleaner, faster, safer, lower cost, on the ground, in the air, on the sea, in space. And it's pretty much investing in this utopian future that for many of us started with the Jetsons, this idea of getting your flying car and flying around, to actual things that people are experiencing here in Arkansas, like drones delivering packages to their front door, to getting an autonomous car to take you from A to B, and doing all this stuff. Really has been interesting to learn how mobility, you can't really look at it from just things on the ground, things in the air, sea, space separately. They're all really part of one major story, which is how do we move matter more efficiently? And it's a lot of the same key enablers. So my day job is investing in the most incredible entrepreneurs that are transforming the moving world by bringing together exponential technologies to provide higher quality of life to anyone that gets to benefit from these sorts of technologies. So that's what I'm doing now, but I spent 30 years or so in and around aviation, engineering, technology, to build a background to have a point of view of where the future might be going.
All right, so you did mention the Jetsons. A little aside that we were talking earlier, George Jetson was born in 2022. So we are now technically in the future.
That's right. Yeah, this is his birth year, is 2022. And it's also the 60th anniversary of the Jetsons. And I think it's pretty cool that we're actually living in a world where we get to start to see this vision, this future of the Jetsons start to become reality. I mean, there are over 400 companies right now developing some sort of flying car. As the official term is electric vertical takeoff and landing vehicle, eVTOL. But from the largest aerospace companies, Boeing, Airbus, to the largest automotive manufacturers, include Toyota and Honda said they're doing stuff, and you name it. Every major builder of moving things has seen the Jetsons as an inspiration. And going back to the comment about Top Gun earlier, it was media. Media kind of is a great tool to inspire and have us think differently about what the future can be.
It'd be a good time to tell you that my dog is named Marty McFly.
Oh, I love it.
So we have to bring up Back to the Future as well. Another flying car.
There's literally a flying car
yes.
in Back to the Future, that's right.
We all find places where we found inspiration, and that's, media is such a great way to inspire us.
It really is.
We spoke a few days ago to Governor Hutchinson, and he was telling me that when he took office 7 years ago, he would go to Silicon Valley and try to recruit businesses, and a lot of doors were slammed and people weren't super interested. That's changed, and now we're seeing a lot of investments in Arkansas and a lot of businesses making that move to establish a presence here in Bentonville and in Arkansas. What moved the needle?
Yeah, I think a little perspective is helpful here, in that I believe we're on the precipice of the second internet. The first internet provided very low latency access to data. I want to know something, I know it very cheaply. Now, somewhere around 80% of people on the planet today have access to relatively high-speed internet. And you can't even begin to quantify the impact to society by virtue of having access to the first internet. We believe that we're on the precipice of the second internet, which is the internet of matter. I want to have something, I have it. I want to be somewhere, I am there. And with that framework, you look at Arkansas, and this is the capital of moving things between Walmart, JB Hunt, Tyson, Dassault Falcon Jet based down in Little Rock. I think many folks are shocked when they hear that the number one export out of the state of Arkansas is aerospace, and be reminded of the heritage and the industrial foundation that's already here. So that's the first thing. So we're seeing a major shift around all things related to mobility. And the first thing that you're seeing the biggest shift around is the movement of goods. And COVID was a huge accelerator, which required a tremendous amount of innovation and thoughtfulness around how do we move things like this when you're stuck in your house and you can't go out to get it. And then the second big driver is around sustainability and the environment. I mean, you can't operate today as a business leader without thinking about what the impact to the environment is going to be through the consumption of energy. And so when you put those two things together around sustainability and the shift towards this second internet, this future of teleporting yourself or things, there couldn't be a more natural place for this to really become the Silicon Valley of transportation and logistics than right here in Arkansas, and particularly Northwest Arkansas.
And the governor appointed you as the chairman of the Arkansas Council of Future Mobility. So you're working to reduce barriers in our state to make it even more appealing. Can you speak a little bit to that work? And he says that there's a report expected this fall.
We've got our homework assigned.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's ready.
Yeah, no. We do have to give a report by November. Mm-hmm. And in this report, really the whole initiative, and thanks to the leadership of Governor Hutchinson and seeing this future of this second internet coming and realizing that when it comes to mobility and moving things, this is a $10 trillion market, mobility broadly. It's the underlying fabric of society. If you can't move things efficiently at low cost without tearing up the environment, the world stops. And so to be thinking about that long term is really inspiring from a governor's perspective and just broadly from a policy perspective. And this is a very complex problem. It has a lot of different stakeholders. You have the largest companies in the world are huge consumers of this. You have academia and workforce development. You have investment from early stage venture investing all the way to private equity and to public markets. You have policy. What are the rules and regulations that are inhibiting the proliferation of these sorts of technologies? And there's public awareness. How do you bring the public along with this future and not have create an environment where they might be fighting it? And really at the core of it is a proof point, which is whenever you increase the access to mobility, history has shown quality of life goes up. So back to your question around Governor Hutchinson's council that he set up, we brought together the leaders from all these different elements, from academia, from large corporates, from the investing community, from the policy community, to work together to create a roadmap to help Arkansas really stand up as the shining beacon on the hill as to what a state can do to enable these sorts of technologies and companies to be successful. And I believe that it's going to be a model that's going to be replicated throughout the country.
I want to talk about, you mentioned the community and the community buy-in to these things. And these technology advancements, they're not just happening behind closed doors. We went out and visited Zipline in Pea Ridge. I will make a note that all of our video has me screaming in the background because it was the coolest thing I've ever seen. And they had delivered a cake to someone using this drone technology. So we can see it being implemented in our communities, and we can see it improving lives in our communities. You can see, I just walked by a canoe vehicle just a second ago.
It's pretty cool looking.
It's awesome looking. Yeah. And the GATIC, we wanted to talk about GATIC as well. They're running routes right now, 7.1 miles, 2 trucks running around Bentonville. So we're seeing this being implemented. How do you get the community on board and excited about these things?
Yeah, community engagement is so important when you talk about transformational technologies, particularly in the physical world. And one really interesting thing about these types of technologies is that they really benefit everyone. This isn't something that's just for the elite. Mm-hmm. This is really to give people more time back. I mean, you think about the amount of time that's wasted having to drive to a store to pick up a lemon and to come home, where you should be spending that time at home with your kids, with your loved ones, learning, consuming, creating, not being wasted, simply this high transaction cost from a time perspective, but even more importantly from an energy perspective. Think about if you needed to go drive from where you live now to a Walmart to go pick up a lemon or whatever it might be, small payload, okay? And let's assume you got a car that's average weight of, 2,000 pounds. The amount of energy it takes to move that 2,000 pound vehicle to go to the store, for you to walk out, go pick up what you need to do, get back in that 2,000 pound vehicle and get home, compared to a vehicle that weighs 20, 30 pounds, maybe it's about 50 pounds, a zipline drone, it is so much more efficient for the environment. And so that's a community thing. I think we're all buying into, like, we want to protect this beautiful land. It takes cars off the road. It's inspiring. Who doesn't want to see a little parachute box of cake show up to the front yard or whatever? So all these things are elements that are good for the community. And you talk about GATIC, and at the core thesis around autonomy for driving is that it's safer than a human being. That's where we're headed to. And there's still a lot of learnings to be done, but if we can make the roads safer, if we can make the roads less congested by virtue of using these sorts of technologies, that's good for the community. And I think that's what's really unique about Arkansas is there's been so much that's already been happening, these little individual stories, that they haven't really been wrapped up into one major story. And I think that goes back to the work with the Mobility Council, is that we just got to tell the story of what's already happening, and then to inspire new stories to be created and work together sort of as a coalition of stakeholders to make this utopian reality here.
Now, you are behind the UP.Summit, which is coming to Bentonville in June, and part of that will be a community day. And that's where I believe you get that next generation of buy-in. Our kids can come and see some of the things that are being worked on, flying cars or an autonomous vehicle. Can you tell people what to expect and encourage them to come out and show these things to their kids?
Yeah, we're so fired up to have the UP.Summit coming back to Bentonville. And in the future years, it's going to rotate between Dallas-Fort Worth and Bentonville. And on June 5th, we're going to have our community day, where we'll have somewhere in the order of about 30 different vehicles, between flying cars and drones and autonomous cars and hydrogen trucks, and we've got the future moon lander that'll be driving around town with people in astronaut outfits. I mean, we're talking about the future showing up to Bentonville, here to Bentonville. But beyond just that, we have 225 of the world's leaders in the future mobility descending on Bentonville. And this is a great time for folks in this town to be proud of what they've built, to be able to show it off to the folks that are supposedly the most breakthrough, innovative investors and technologists. Something tells me they're going to be pretty inspired when they see this community and how thoughtful it's been and how warm and opening and embracing the community's been to aviation and all the sort of cool stuff that's happening. But the thing I'm most excited about the UP.Summit is the community day. And it's getting, how I was inspired when I was 6 years old seeing Top Gun. I can't wait to see these little kids showing up to the airport and seeing these incredible machines and think about what future they're going to create, and lighting that little spark and that one future Elon Musk that shows up, or Einstein, whoever it might be. He or she's out there, and I really hope it's a she that is coming up with these incredible ideas that can help humanity continue to go up, both physically and sort of economically, socially, and on all the other areas.
What's next? What's the next 30 years look like? What do you foresee with all of these technologies being developed?
We're in this really interesting time that makes me really hopeful. There's a lot of news out there about reasons not to be very hopeful, right? And I don't need to be the one that repeats any of them. But I think we're at a time of incredible abundance. There's an abundance of capital. There's an abundance of what we call exponential technologies that are kind of coming together. There's an abundance of human will to do big and inspiring things. There's an abundance, I believe, in this new generation coming, of hope. And I think when you put all these things together, really incredible things can happen. And we've gone through some difficult times over the last few years, and I think that makes people pretty grateful when you get on the backside of it. And I believe that we're working through challenges, and I'm sure we'll have some more in the future. But to have this this playing field of abundance in all these different categories. And there's one I left out is access to education, right? I mean, now, a child sitting in a village in Africa can have access to a Stanford education or MIT education by what's available online. And accessibility of education through a digital world is super, super exciting. And so I believe that as we continue to see more of these exponential technologies timed with abundance of capital and goodwill and a human experience that is elevating, good things will happen.
I'm going to end this interview with a quote from you.
Okay, cool.
This is the future we were all promised as kids.
That's
and
right.
I loved it. It's the Top Gun, it's the Back to the Future, it's the Jetsons, it's here in Bentonville. It's something to be pretty excited about.
Yeah, if this doesn't get you excited, I don't want to be your friend.
You can be my friend.
No, I mean that it's, there's something about this convergence of things that sort of lights up the inner child. And I see it in children, and I see it in folks that are in the later stages in their lives. And that's special, and we have to pay attention when we feel those feelings and how we can lean in and be part of building that future.
Well, Cyrus, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
me.
It's been great to be here.
Yes.